How can demographic factors affect a family tree? Any genealogy is the outcome of the waxing and waning of the lineages composing it. Over time, some will thrive, and others become extinct. Think of surnames. Assume that 1,000 years ago, on some remote island, everyone had one of three surnames: Smith, Brown, and Watson. Assume, too, that small errors of transcription, mutations, occasionally occurred when the names of newborns were inscribed in the birth registers. The errors were infrequent and slight, so we can still tell which of the original names the altered forms derived from. Brown with an E is clearly a mutation of Brown. Now let us imagine that in the population today, 1,000 years later, we find that everyone is called Brown, Brown with an E, Bown, Frown, or Brown, B-R-O-U-N. Smith and Watson have gone extinct, while the Brown line has thrived and diversified through mutation. What has happened? Pure chance has led to the loss of the Smith and Watson lines. Perhaps, for instance, several Mr. and Mrs. Smiths of one generation managed to produce mainly daughters. Assume, in accordance with tradition, though not the modern alternative convention, that surnames are transmitted along the male line. The bumper crop of daughters would thus have the effect of reducing the representation of Smiths in the next generation. Now say that the new generation of Smiths also overproduced daughters, and the demographic effect was heightened once again. Well, you get the picture. Eventually, the Smith name disappeared altogether. So did Watson. This kind of random extinction is, in fact, statistically inevitable. Usually, however, it happens so slowly that its impact can be felt only over huge periods of time. Sometimes, though, a bottleneck, a period of very much reduced population size, will massively accelerate the process. With only 3 couples, 6 individuals, on the island at the beginning of its population history, it was reasonably likely that we would lose Smith and Watson within a single generation, the chances being fairly good that both the Smiths and the Watsons would have only daughters, or fail to procreate at all. In a large population, such abrupt disappearances of lines cannot occur. It is statistically inconceivable, given a population with many Smith couples, that they could all wind up producing only girls, or simply fail to have children. Only over the course of many generations would the effects of the dwindling ranks gradually mount up. Indeed, a real-life example of this hypothetical name extinction process actually occurred in the South Pacific, when the 6 Bounty mutineers colonized Pitcairn Island with their 13 Tahitian brides. Within 7 generations, the number of surnames had dwindled to 3. When we look today at the surnames in our theoretical population, Brown, Brown with an E, Bown with an E, Frown, or B-R-O-U-N, we can infer that they are all descended from just one of the 3 starting lineages, Brown.
This book is continued on Disc 9.